So with that in place, let's go ahead and we'll just go one breakout room at a time. And if you can identify one person or just have one person from each group speak up. Let's start with the group that was working on assistance to households and basic needs. And we'd love to hear 1 to 2 things that you identified as needs or things that the county could do to potentially offer support. And we do have team members taking notes on this, so we'll record all that as well as recording the session. So who do we have from assistance to households and basic needs?
We didn't really select anyone, but I wrote down a couple of things. So if everybody's okay with that.
Sure.
In our group. Okay. Yeah, we're interested in knowing how advances in funding are going to be made to the organizations, because we're not going to be able to do the work in the kind of routine way in which, you know, we expend the funding that we don't have and then live in poverty until we get it back.
Right.
Oh, so that's not, is that just being recorded, or is that going to be addressed?
So right now we'll be taking all of the feedback that you give us, and then all of this, we won't be doing question and answer right now, but we will take it to see where there are needs that we need to build out further structures in our county, what we're offering to answer questions and to provide support.
Okay. So
Yeah.
the next one, I'm sorry, the next one is, what type of collaborative support are you going to give us? So that, I mean, we're each in a separate breakout session. We're not aware of every single organization that's going to be part of this. You all are at this point. How are you going to help? Like, are you going to help lead us to, oh, well, you should be contacting, you know, CPI or Food for Thought or whatever? Are you going to be providing that kind of guidance to us, or is it all on, is the onus on us to figure it out? Number 2.
So some of the questions we can't answer with that one. We will be sharing out the contact information of everyone here, but we can't specifically say you should reach out to X, Y, and Z, or you should reach out to this other organization. But we can definitely provide contact information. And I think that we've heard some feedback already that it would be helpful to have additional sessions like that, so we can continue conversations like that. And I'll just pause. Oscar, I saw you unmute for a minute. Did you want to add to?
I just wanted to answer the first question, that we are looking at the possibility of providing an advance or front load the contract. We're working with our county council to answer that question.
Great. And then the third one is, how will decisions be made on the NOFAs? Is that going to be, you know, you guys making those decisions? Are we as NOFA applicants going to be empowered to help the decisions be made? And kind of with that, are you going to have a rubric or some sort of, you know, not performance measure, but vetting process whereby, you know, you then determine, okay, we're going to allocate an award to this particular organization? What kind of formal mechanism are you going to use? That might be one question or two. Depends on how you break it out.
So there will be a formal review process, and the committee that reviews applications will be made up of a wide range of people that are not staff that are supporting this meeting right now. So we will not be the ones making decisions. We'll be providing technical assistance and training afterwards. But there will be a series of, or not a series, but several different committees that make the actual decisions on where funding awards go to. And then I'll pause and see if any of my colleagues want to add to that to answer that question any further.
Yeah, Jenny, I think it's a really good point to also let folks know that the Board of Supervisors will be approving all awards. So there will also be kind of a public conversation around the rubric and around kind of the criteria used to make those decisions. So, you know, this is, we're really, you know, hoping to make this as transparent and clear and easy to understand as possible, so that people feel like they've all gotten a fair shake and a fair opportunity. So we're being really careful about our conflicts, and also making sure that, you know, that criteria is clear at the end.
And okay, so in line with that, is there going to be an appeal process as part of that?
Yes, it'll just be like our standard process. And just to also, I want to add that the rubric that will be used will be based on what is outlined in what we're requesting in the NOFA, and then also the application. So the rubric and evaluation criteria will be directly aligned to what we're asking for proposals to put into the NOFA.
Do you have a target date for the release of the NOFA?
February.
Just really quick, Joni, I just wanted to make another plug for folks to fill out the contact form. The link is in the chat because within the contact form, it'll ask you the areas that you're interested in working. So you can choose as many areas as you'd like on there if your organization supports more than one of our funding brackets. We know today most people were just in one, but if you can fill out that contact form where the link is in the chat, we can get everybody's names and numbers, and then you'll be able to see what funding areas are supported by which organization to kind of help you know who you can collaborate with.
This
Wonderful.
meeting is being recorded. Are you going to post the recording of both the meeting and the breakout rooms?
So the meeting will be posted of the general session. We will not be posting the breakout sessions. We didn't have we don't have the capacity to record all of those and post them. I do want to make sure we give everybody a chance from each group to share. So from childcare and childcare facilities, were there 1 to 2 things that you wanted to share with the larger group about where the county might offer support?
Yes, this is BJ, and in the group, I just want to share, we had Susan Cooper from Community Action Partnership Sonoma County. We had Melanie Dodson from 4Cs. We had Michelle Edwards-Geary from Boys and Girls Clubs, and Megan's list was from Interfaith Food. Third day on the job. Welcome to her. So in terms of support from the county, we just want to know what kind of capacity building funding there is available for nonprofits. I think that was something that was of concern to everyone since we couldn't get in that breakout group that was discussing that. And the ideas that came out as far as needs, I know that Community Action Partnership is really interested in training early child care educators, taking parents that have their children in early child care programs and training them through an apprenticeship program, ultimately in conjunction with the junior college, but first starting out with other partners here in the county that are not the junior college to go ahead and get parents trained in being child care providers. Susan, anything to add to that one, or is that? And that you're muted, Susan, anything?
This would be to kind of jumpstart the eventual apprenticeship program through the junior college, but there's such a need that we wanted to get started.
So it's basically a pilot before the official apprenticeship would come into play. And then with Melanie, 4Cs is really looking at family child care providers training maybe up to 3 cohorts to really involve parents in business development. And both of those are business development programs, workforce development for early childhood. I know Boys and Girls Clubs is interested in facilities, before and after school facilities in Roseland and in Healdsburg. And so there's a lot of that. Megan wasn't quite sure what was needed, but again, they provide food, access to food, possibly spaces, through the faith-based organizations with which they're affiliated. Melanie, anything you wanted to add?
The only thing I would add is just that facilities across the board. I think Michelle was speaking to it from the one organization, but facilities are critical, particularly for birth to 3 as we move to transitional kindergarten and school district sites become unavailable for the birth to 3.
Exactly, and providing grants for those people who have those facilities to be able to tap into those grants so that they can upgrade facilities because many of them are crumbling.
Thank you.
That's it from our group.
Wonderful, thank you. It sounds like you had some great ideas in terms of projects that might need to be worked, that you might want to work on, as well as needs. So I would encourage anybody else here, if you identified with those projects or those needs, these would be some people that you may want to reach out to. And again, you can, if you're not sure who those people were, let us know afterwards and we can help you make, we can give you the names. We can't tell you who to talk to, but we can give you the names of who is here and who's interested in that work. So let's move on. And in the educational disparities group, what were 1 or 2 things that came up for you where you feel like you might need additional support from the county or that you feel would be valuable for the larger group to consider?
Hi, my name is Yvette and I'll be speaking for the group. It was very difficult because many of us, see a lot of things that we want to participate in. And so we will be reaching out to others in the room. But one of the things we would like to see this Sonoma County staff facilitate is the one to do this process, bring us all together and setting all of that up, you know, because some of us don't have the capacity to do that. And so I feel that if the county takes on that role of setting up these meetings so we can have our breakout rooms, that will be a burden off of everybody in the room. And so that was one of the things we highly suggest that the county take on. And then as far as some of the support in our room, we had NOFA in the room, we have people that has a DUNS number, and we had grant writers. So there was a couple of things that was discussed that they would like to bring forward, like Corazon have a couple programs they would like to bring across the county. And so we touched on that a little bit. And so we want to be able to look at that idea a little bit more and see how we can bring it across the county. So those are a few things that we discussed. And if anybody else in the room that want to speak, you know, feel free to go ahead. But we definitely would like for the county to take on that piece of bringing the meetings together, running the meetings for us so that we can just work on our piece of the NOFA or any of those pieces. We would like for the county to be the facilitators of that.
Thank you, Yvette. Was there anyone else from that group that wanted to add anything? All right, so it sounds like a big takeaway there is that it would
Can
be.
I ask?
Yes.
Can I ask?
Go ahead.
Sorry, just for a second. I don't know if Sarah's still here from the Educational Disparities Group. She asked a question and I just wanted to raise it. So one of the things that she said is, could the county from its perspective, right, from this kind of like, this perspective, kind of pull specific folks together and say, you should work together. And so I just wanted to address that because that's actually, that would be inappropriate for us, right? That would create some conflicts in having us kind of create the partnerships that, and have our fingers in the mix too much, right? So what we
this
want to
is
share.
Sarah.
Yes.
The question that I had was similar to what Yvette was saying, in that as Sonoma, as the county is putting together these organizations and you have an eye on what it's seeing, if you're able to see in those contact meetings or in these, that these people are working on how, you know, on housing disparities, these people are working on, you know, direct action and mutual aid in certain populations, these people are working on, you know, help to teachers, being able to kind of say, hey, here's the groups of people that are working together in these kinds of things. It's not directing funds or, you know, any sort of, you know, care or trying to show preference. It's just about that you all have the access to all of us, and we do not have access to everybody and what they're saying and what they're working on. So being able to kind of put groups together and say, you know, Oscar's working on this, Drake is working on that. Hey, Steve, you know, Louise was working on this and they mentioned something very similar. You may want to meet. So it was just kind of, you know, a collective impact model of being able to put people together from different sectors. That's, I mean, if it's not possible, then let me know, but that was what the hope was.
Thank you, Sarah. That was a much better articulation of the suggestion. I appreciate it. Can someone from our upstream team kind of talk about the challenges that we would have in doing that?
Yeah, I think, I mean, you know, once we enter, and we're not quite there yet, once we enter the procurement period, we do have to be really careful about the types of encouragement or partnerships or how we're bringing people together, because we can't be seen as giving one proposal preferential treatment over another proposal. And that being said, I think this is where we're really trying to look at how we can obviously remain very fair and in that space, and then also be able to do a better job around bringing people together. So I think today is one of those examples of us sort of trying to think a little bit outside the box about how we do that. But we do have to kind of cut that line and boundary somewhere. So I think this is really excellent feedback that we will take to the team and put our creative minds together around, you know, how do we still potentially, you know, I don't want to say, you know, provide support in this area without going into that gray area of where we might be giving certain organizations or partnerships or proposals preferential treatment.
Thanks, Kelly. And that's just another plug again to complete that short Google form that's in the chat and let us know what areas you're working on, because that is what we'll be sharing with everybody. And that'll give you something to go off of in terms of who's doing what work. So I want to make sure that we have time to get to all of our groups. I see 2 hands. So if you have a quick question, Cynthia, why don't you give us your quick question, and then Gregory, and then we're going to jump back to our BIPOC group.
Yeah, I asked this in the chat, but I didn't see the answer. How many awards are you planning to give out, and what amounts? What are the ranges?
So I think that, and any of my team correct me here, but in terms of it'll really depend on the number of proposals that we get and the requests that people are making for funding. Kelly, do you want to add a little bit more detail?
Yeah, we will have in the NOFA some guidelines around the minimum. We haven't classified that specific information yet. And I think, just as you can probably tell from this meeting, that we really want to see partnerships and organizations working together. So I think that would lean into the direction of, having some of the larger funding proposals versus doing, smaller individual entities. But again, we will have all of that will be, better articulated in the NOFA. And then, just so everyone knows, just traditionally with how, any type of NOFA and or when you've gone through an RFP process, we will have the traditional question and answers period. So this isn't the question and answer, we're not replacing that right now. This isn't the only opportunity that you're going to have to be able to ask some of these questions and get specific answers.
Great. Gregory, did you have a question before we move on to our next group?
Yeah, I just wanted to double on what Yvette said about trying to help bring groups together. Topical Zooms like you're doing now don't violate any kind of conflict of getting the certain groups together. You call together on topics like you're doing together, and that makes it easy for you to avoid any kind of a favoritism, but it makes it easier on all of us because we're all not trying to struggle to find each other individually. The other thing is, I think you ought to try and concentrate to some degree on bringing together other funding opportunities that are going to happen in the next 6 months in the county. Whether education, they got $100 million coming down in the same process. Why aren't they doing a community input, and why can't they do it with us? You as a county can encourage your other departments to try and collaborate with you about trying to bring community. And I think that will help a lot of people in this call.
Great. Thank you for that, Gregory. And, I think we will definitely take back to our team the idea of hosting other meetings that would allow a collaborative space for people. I do want to go ahead and give all of our groups the opportunity to share. So the BIPOC business, nonprofit, and CBO, you are our largest group. Is there somebody there that wants to share out 1 to 2 ideas that are areas where you see need for support from the county in this process? Nobody wants to jump forward, so I'll give it one more chance. Is there anybody, I know it was a large group, but I also think there were some good conversations there, that wants to talk through 1 or 2 ideas from BIPOC business, nonprofit, and CBO. And Grace, I saw you unmute. Are you feeling bold?
Not exactly, but it was agreed that Elizabeth was supposed to report, but I don't see her anywhere. Is Elizabeth there?
Let's see. She may not be. She may have left already. I don't see her in the list anymore.
Oh, God. I have not written down any notes, but the exchange was very helpful. We were able to, at least my organization, which is Asian American Pacific Islander Coalition, we have been able to identify agencies with experience, and the areas sort of dovetail with ours. And so we also explain what kind of service and what things we'd like to do. Can some others please chime up?
I'll be quick.
Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Javi.
Lupe, did you want to share the last thing you shared? I don't want to
it's your turn. I think it's important for that to be shared amongst the whole group.
Thank you, of course, Javi, and good morning. We have 8 minutes until the afternoon. My name is Lupa Navarro. I'm the Executive Director of Latino Service Providers, and I had the pleasure to act as an interpreter for our last workshop. And one thing that Maria from Movimiento Cultural de la Unión Indígena and I were in agreement is and noticed and acknowledged the value of interpretation in every and all spaces. So something for us to all consider as we're seeking ARPA funding, right, is to also think about, and as something that was also emphasized in our group is the value and importance of acknowledging our BIPOC communities at large here in Sonoma County. And so keeping that, I think, at the forefront as we seek to serve our community and as we have been mentioning as well, those impacted by the pandemic, as well as by other unfortunate disasters that Sonoma County has endured over the past 2 years. And so thank you, Javi, for that space. I was cut off in our last workshop right before moving into this space. So I look forward to collaborating with any of you all in the near future.
Great, thank you, Lupe. All right, what about moving forward? And I think we have a question or another addition from that group. George?
So this is really a question about grant making, and Greg was referring to some of it, but I'm wondering what capacity does the county have to make many grants? In other words, what is kind of the threshold that you're looking for? Are you looking for 500? Or are you saying that's way too many that we could fund? Are we looking to make 50 grants or 20 grants and then have each grantee have sub-grantees?
Great question. I think that I saw, Chrissy, did you join us again? I think I saw her hop back in. Nope, maybe not. So with that, I think that we're looking at larger dollar amounts, but Kelly or Alegria, do you want to weigh in on that as well?
Joni, I can weigh in here. George, that's an excellent question. It's one of the things that we've been talking about is, as a way of building capacity for smaller organizations, could we provide smaller grants? One of the things we've considered is, is there an intermediary organization or a larger nonprofit who could serve in that role? So that's certainly a possibility if somebody wants to do that. But we're thinking through the possibilities, but we also, recognize that it would be very challenging for the county to issue a whole bunch of small little contracts, and that could be much better facilitated through an intermediary.
Can I chime in really quickly? This is Hector from TLC, Child and Family Services. One of the things that came out in our group, which likely came out in other groups, a couple of times was at the very least commented on creating these one-stop shop. In our case, it's the Family Engagement Center / Resource Center, right? So it's a visitation center to support the county and kids that would be reunified with their families or their caregivers. But in addition to that, creating an extension of that as a resource center, providing services with, if you would, other providers, right? To really be able to house and address the gaps that exist in the different communities.
Great.
Thank you for that, Hector. Just to let you know that the county and through the board's strategic plan is looking at creating these community hubs that would bring together county and nonprofit organizations to be able to deliver services and to maximize the use of space. So while that may not be, part of this work, it's important to know that that is something the county is looking at.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Lupe, did you have your hand up before we move on to getting some feedback from culturally responsive disaster response?
Yeah, but also considering the time, I went ahead and put my question on the chat.
Okay, thank you, Lupe. All right, so our culturally responsive disaster response group, do you have 1 to 2 ideas that you want to share out with the larger group?
Hello, my name is Zeke, and Kim Bender threw me in at the last 30 seconds to be the spokesman. Okay. And like her, I didn't take a lot of notes, but I think what we were sharing is we had a small group but a group that's very concerned about making sure that the community we're going to deliver these services to are very much involved. And it's what I like what Karen Gleamer said, you know, nothing about us without us. Is that are we really, to make something culturally relevant and culturally appropriate for our people, are we there with them? Are we really in the communities? And I think that's very critical, because I shared that I was in a group yesterday with Together Toward Health, a statewide, that was covering the same thing, collaboration. And 2 counties, Ventura County and Fresno County, had this incredible models where they delivered this system of collaboration based on delivery, not on other ideas, or it was really about delivery. And I think I want to visit Fresno and Ventura in the next week or two and see what is it that they did. I got contacts. Alegria, I'll be happy to provide you those contact information of the people there. But I think that's really important. And I think it's really, you know, timeliness. Yeah, we're in a crisis, and that's what it is. And we're hoping that the county can respond in more of a timely manner this time. And, you know, I know it's administrative headache to administer these funds, but man, people are suffering, and we got to get them, we got to get the services to them. And I think that's what it is. And we got to, when we talk about culturally be responsive, you know, you got to throw administrative in there. We got to be administratively responsible and get the services to them in a timely fashion. And I don't know, Kim and the other group, I know Karen and Gabby had some very good comments to make about this, and that's where this is at. I feel, you know, we're very blessed here in this county. I want to say this. You know, I've disappeared from this county a little bit because I'm working in Lake County. That county is in a crisis. I just want to share what we're dealing with right now. They stopped all vaccination events because they have no staff. Okay, where I'm working with the public health nurse there to try to bring some resources from the outside. There's rural counties in Northern California that are really struggling, and hoping to help any way we can. But we have a great opportunity with a bunch of great organizations here. And I think we could do something very powerful for our people here. So I hope we really take that into account and really dig into our communities and see what their needs are. And let's get this going. I don't know, Gabby, and you guys want to put that in? I don't know what else you want to say, Kim or Gabby, you know, please chime in.
Thanks, Zeke. Yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Kim. I think that's wonderful. We're getting close to our time here, but I'd love to give you the chance to add one more thing if you want to.
Just reiterating the need expressed by the other groups to have the county act as a facilitator of the collaboration, so that we really cover all the groups, all the small and larger groups, so we don't, just to really, if equity and partnerships and collaborations are the goal, we really could use your help. Thanks.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for reminding us of both the need as well as the need to collaborate and to work together. So with that, mental health, our group that was working on mental health services, do you have 1 to 2 ideas that you want to share with the larger group, or questions, maybe not questions, but considerations that the county should be taking in?
Well, Chelsea asked me to represent the group, but if somebody else wants to add something to what I said, is welcome. And the first thing that one of the comments that we have is that we really need to have a collective effort to address the need for mental health through the workforce development, create a pipeline so we can address the need in the community. We talk about the concerns around the increase on suicide among youth, and how parents need support. And need support to really support the well-being, the mental health of the child, and the emotional well-being. And the other thing that we talk about is, and I heard at the end, that many agencies don't have the experience with doing grants for the government. So that will be something important to support those agencies that that they haven't had that opportunity. So, and I can go on, but I know we are short of time. Somebody wants to add something, please?
That was great. Thank you, Nubia. Yes, again, just the need to collaborate in so many different ways, right? Both to meet the need as well as in terms of the way that we operate internally in our structures. So thank you. And our last group that was working on homelessness, housing and shelter. Is there one person there that wants to report out on 1 to 2 things?
Yes, thank you. I think we're going to duplicate a little bit of what other folks said, but number one would be that learnings like this are great, and particularly smaller organizations don't have this opportunity due to technology or time. So we would like some members wanted the county to sustain what we might call an innovation navigator, county employee or funding to a nonprofit whose role would be to continually support efforts such as this, even post ARPA, on different funding and technical ideas. The second was in the ARPA budget to create space and incentives in the budget itself to actually promote what the county is asking for, such as capacity building, supporting collaboration, and a consistent and unified monitoring system to measure impact. If that could be incentivized through a point system or some other way in the ARPA budget, we think that would be helpful.
Wonderful. Great feedback, Tim. I appreciate it from everybody. This has been very helpful for us, and I hope for you as well. And now I will see if Alegria or Oscar have any closing comments before we wrap up.
Go ahead, Alegria, and then I'll close. Okay, I can go. I get the feeling that there is a lot more feedback and we want to hear it. So if we could put an email on the chat to be able to capture that, because you've given us a lot of good ideas. And I really do feel that we as a county, if we want to incentivize collaboration, we have a responsibility to do that and work with you as equal partners. So I've really taken that to heart, and we're going to go back and figure out how to make those engagements meaningful and fruitful for all of us collectively together. So thank you for that. And thank you for joining us today, and more to come.
Thank you, Oscar. Just leaning in with some gratitude for all of your time and your energy and your really beautiful presence. This feels like a partnership. It feels like something different than something I've ever been involved in at the County of Sonoma. And so I'm grateful for all of you engaging in this adventure with us into a new way of working with each other and centering the people that we love and that we care for, and that, you know, every single thing that we look at in the world tells us that we need to focus together with that kind of love and those resources in the right places. So super grateful for this collaboration. Look forward to the next time we connect. Y adelante.
Thanks, everyone.